I'm James Lynch, and this is my stock report for UFC 324, taking a look at the biggest winners and losers from the event. I just finished the Cage Titan 75 card. I was working that tonight, but did get a chance to catch up on the card. I was also watching in between some of the fights there, so going to give you my stock report for this one. I'm on the road right now. Got to catch a flight in a few hours, but I wanted to get this up before I left because obviously a lot to talk about this card. Anyways, biggest stock riser on this card, no questions asked, is Justin Gaethje. Huge win over Paddy Pimblett, cashes as a plus 200 underdog, and becomes the second I think in history, two-time UFC interim champion here at lightweight. So really good performance here. Fight of the night, obviously gets the bonus as well, well-deserved, and just a good fight to end this card with. So Gaethje, when you look back on this event, he's going to be one of the big stars of this card. Put on a great performance, a vintage performance here, 37 years of age, much older than Paddy Pimblett by 6 years, and he still goes out there and gets it done. Was able to keep this fight standing, not a lot of ground game or wrestling in this fight. And it's interesting, if you look at the stats here, Paddy Pimblett actually did outland Justin Gaethje, but his shots being a little bit more impactful here, that's how he ends up getting the judge's decision. I don't think there's any question that Justin Gaethje won this fight. You can look at it there. Paddy Pimblett, to his credit, did put on a good performance here as well, but not enough to get it done. You look at some of the differences here. The takedowns, Gaethje 3 for 3 on that one, 0 for 5 for Pimblett. Total strikes, Gaethje does outland him there, 200 compared to 170. Sorry, I know the font's a little small, but I'm doing my best here. I'm on my laptop, don't have the second monitor there. But yeah, huge win there for Justin Gaethje. And I think the big reason for him, the stock going up, aside from the fact that he put on a great fight, is that he's most likely going to fight Ilia Topuria next. That is one of the biggest fights you can get in the UFC right now. That alone puts his stock ahead of anyone else. Topuria Gaethje at the White House seems likely. This also helps the UFC as well, because I'm sure they wanted an American to headline the card. You could now have Gaethje and Topuria as your main event for the White House. I think a lot of people are going to be happy by that, and it'll be very interesting to see how that fight plays out with Ilia Topuria, assuming Topuria can come back. But either way, Gaethje's in a great spot. Easily the biggest stock riser on this card. I don't think there's any debate there. So Justin Gaethje, biggest stock riser on UFC 324. Okay, let's get to our second biggest stock riser here. You can go a couple different ways, and people are probably going to disagree with me on this pick, but I'm going to go with Sean O'Malley. Now, the reason Sean O'Malley is the second biggest stock riser on this card is because with the Paramount era and how the UFC's been doing some of their matchmaking, I think despite the fact that O'Malley didn't really blow people away with this performance, he's still going to end up getting that title shot next. Now, I don't think O'Malley fought an amazing fight. In fact, if you look on MMA decisions right now, it was split down the middle. This is the media scorecards right now. You see most people, again, I know the font's small there. Sorry about that, guys. But if you can't see it here, I'm trying to zoom in right now, but I can't really do it because I'm holding the microphone. But you can see there, if you can squint a little bit, you'll see that, about half the media scored it. Just over half scored it for O'Malley, but a lot of people scored that fight for Song Yadong. But the facts are facts. The UFC obviously likes O'Malley. That's why they put him as the co-main event for this card when Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison was out. Any excuse that they can use to give Sean O'Malley a title shot, they will do it. They're also going to argue, I'm sure, that Sean O'Malley has the win over current champion Petr Yan, so they'll play that angle as well. Even though a lot of people, if you watch that fight a couple years back, definitely thought Yan won that fight, but that's how they're going to sell this. We already knew this before going into the fight. If O'Malley got the win here, he's most likely going to get the next title shot. So that alone puts Sean O'Malley's stock up huge, because out of all, think of all the fighters on this card, who's getting a title shot next? Sean O'Malley's probably one of the only guys there that's going to rightfully get I wouldn't say rightfully, but is one of the guys that's probably going to get a title shot out of this. So Sean O'Malley, second biggest stock riser on this card, just for the optics of the fact that he most likely will be fighting Petr Yan next. Okay, third biggest stock riser on this card for me is going to be Jean Silva. Really liked his win over Arnold Allen, getting a decision, a rare decision there for Jean Silva. Doesn't finish it, but I thought he looked good. Arnold Allen's a tough guy. He's never been finished in the UFC. Arnold Allen coming into tonight, just 2 losses on the resume there. One of those being to Max Holloway, the other one being a pretty close fight with Movsar Evloev. I really like what I saw here. Sort of the knock on John Silva is he's too reckless. All these things, hasn't fought the opposition. To go out there and beat Arnold Allen and look the way he did, I think is super impressive. And here's the other thing we got to remember here too. We're in the Paramount era now. Would it shock you guys at all if Jean Silva ends up getting a title shot and fights the winner of Diego Lopez and Alex Volkanovski? I know people will be like, hey, John Silva and Diego Lopez just fought last year. Well, guess what? So did Alex Volkanovski and Diego Lopez. So would it shock you if they did if Diego Lopez beats Volkanovski? Would it shock you if they did a John Silva rematch? It wouldn't to me. Not anymore. I mean, if this was a couple of years ago, yeah, it would for sure. But I think there's a world, even though Jean Silva didn't finish this fight, where he could potentially get a title shot here. But we'll see what the UFC decides to do. Either way, Jean Silva's getting a big fight after this. This was a big win for him, taking out a contender in Arnold Allen. So, yeah. John Silva, third biggest stock riser on this card. Now, a couple honorable mentions on here. Got to bring up Natalia Silva. Again, I think that one probably should have gone the other way with Rose Namajunas getting the win here. The media agrees here. If you look on MMA decisions, just 5 media members scoring the fight for Silva. The majority of people scoring it for Rose Namajunas getting it done. I got to give Rose credit. I thought she looked great in this fight. Was not expecting this. I thought Silva was going to comfortably win this one, and she arguably lost this fight. But again, facts are facts. Natalia Silva, with the fact that she got this win, kind of similar to O'Malley, she's probably going to be fighting Valentina Shevchenko next, you would think, right? So that, again, is something I look at when it comes to stock. It's not necessarily the performance, it's the optics. And again, in this Paramount era, the UFC is very eager to give fighters who get wins opportunities like title shots. And Natalia Silva is going to get an honorable mention. 2 more quick ones I'm going to mention here because I don't want to take up too much time. Alex Perez is an underdog, one of the few underdogs on this card that came through, getting a first round finish over Charles Johnson, coming through as a plus 145 underdog. Him getting the finish here, that's got to certainly turn some heads, especially at flyweight. And this probably saved Perez's job, right? He was coming off a couple losses coming into this fight. He was lost 3 of his last 4. So yeah, for him to get this win over a guy in Charles Johnson, very big win there. And then got to bring up Waldo as well. Waldo getting the finish here too. We'll see what happens with Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gahn, but Waldo's got to be right close there for a title shot now. The win streak is pretty impressive. 3 in a row. You could even go back further and go, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 8 of 9, 8 wins in his last 9 fights. Waldo's got to be in that conversation as well as far as stock risers on this card. So Waldo Cortez Acosta getting an honorable mention on this one. Okay, let's get to stock droppers. Not going to take too much time, guys, on this one. But biggest stock dropper on this card. And again, people will disagree with me here, but I want to talk about the context of where we are right now with this one. And it's Paddy Pimblett. And it's not because I thought Paddy fought a bad fight, although he was the favorite, did end up losing here. He had some advantages in this fight, the youth, the height and reach, all that different stuff. But it's the fact that Paddy missed out on an Ilia Topuria fight. That fight might not happen now, right? Like if we think about it, Topuria has already said he's not going to be sticking around in the UFC that much longer. There was that backstory from a couple years ago with the confrontation. Paddy obviously can sell a fight. The UFC thinks very highly of him. But with him losing, he missed out on the biggest fight of his career against Ilia Topuria. That alone puts him as the biggest stock dropper because had he won, he would have been the biggest stock riser. He loses, he's the biggest stock dropper. Now, again, I don't think Paddy fought a bad fight in this one. I thought to actually go toe-to-toe with Gaethje, for a guy that I think coming into this fight had like a 41% striking defense, I thought Paddy looked fairly good in this fight despite losing. So this is one of those fights I think Paddy will learn from. He'll come back even stronger. We are seeing improvements fight to fight from Paddy Pimblett. But the fact of the matter is he missed out on the biggest payday of his career by losing to Gaethje here. So to me, that alone makes him the biggest stock dropper on this card. Paddy Pimblett, unfortunately, coming up short. Second biggest stock dropper on this card is going to be Charles Johnson. He's the guy I have on the thumbnail. And a lot of people will be like, well, what stock did he have going in? Well, let's consider this. Charles Johnson on a nice win streak. Well, shouldn't say a win streak. Had the 1 win in his last fight. But if you look at it overall, he's got, 5 of his last 6 wins coming in, has won 5 of his last 6 fights prior to tonight. Had the win over Joshua Van. If he had beat Alex Perez in impressive fashion, he has a win over the current champ right now. That holds a lot of weight, right? We've seen fighters that have, beaten title holders before and get opportunities. To me, this is a missed opportunity here. Yes, Perez missed weight. I should have mentioned that actually in the stock risers, but obviously Perez not in the good graces of the UFC for missing weight. But still, Perez gets the win. Charles Johnson doesn't. To me, this was a missed opportunity for Johnson, and not to mention the fact that Charles Johnson getting up there in age, just turned 35. So this is a tough setback for Charles Johnson. I don't know if we'll ever get to title contention with a loss like this because he's running out of time to really make a run here. So tough loss there for Charles Johnson. He is my second biggest stock dropper on this card. And third biggest stock dropper is another favorite on this card that lost, and that is Modestas Bukauskas. And, it's the fact that Modestas, again, had a nice win streak coming into this fight. He was the betting favorite in this one. How big of a favorite was he? This was a fight I told people to watch out for the simple fact that Modestas' win streak was not super impressive in terms of the opposition. But the fact of the matter is Modestas was coming in a 4-fight win streak and gets finished in this fight. He's been finished a number of times now. You look at that, he's got 5 losses by TKO. That's going to be tough for Modestas. Again, he's not a super young fighter, 31 years old. We'll see if he's able to bounce back from this one. But the fight itself was not that great. And then he gets finished here. Tough loss there for Modestas Bukauskas, who loses this fight. And then I just got one honorable mention on this card, and that is Song Yadong. And again, I know some people felt like Song Yadong won this fight, but unfortunately, the narrative was Song Yadong after losing this fight. And again, I'll show it to you there. A lot of media felt like he won this fight. Again, we go back to optics. The optics are with Song Yadong is that he can't get over the hump, right? He's had a couple fights now where he has not been able to pass that test. He had the Corey Sandhagen fight. He lost a couple fights back. Piotr Yan. And again, these are not tough losses to have or aren't bad losses on the resume here. But we're kind of getting to that point with Song Yadong where, yeah, he's 28 years old, but at some point he's got to break through here. And I think this was an opportunity tonight to potentially do that. He doesn't end up passing that test. Again, I think there's an argument where you could say that Song won that fight. It was close, but fact of the matter is he hasn't been able to get over the hump. Song Yadong loses this fight. He gets an honorable mention on stock droppers. So let me know in the comments, what are your 3 biggest stock risers, 3 biggest stock droppers? Again, with these videos, I just go off my own criteria. You might have a different criteria for stock riser, stock dropper. Maybe you're basing it just off their performance, and that would obviously get a different list here. But I like using performance, context, a bunch of different stuff here. That's how I came up with it. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.